So the streets are talking, Victor.
Hey,
get him, Daddy.
Don't you walk on me.
So how long have you been doing this fishing thing for?
In general or chartering?
Where did it start? Let's go there.
I started fishing, it's really like with my grandfather. He was a outdoorsman, very outdoorsman kind of guy. Anytime we saw him, went to his house, we'd do something. We'd go fishing, we'd go walking in the woods, whatever, And then we always went to Cape Cod in the summer, my family. So that, naturally being into fishing, we started fishing. My parents were fishing. They had friends with tuna boats going tuna fishing. So that got us into tuna fishing. It was sort of one step led to another. Always been fishing. It's always been there. Like other things have come and gone, hobbies and habits, but fishing has always been there.
Nice. How long have you been chartering for?
So I started really doing charters, like relief and cover stuff and the charters for charity. I started doing that maybe like 5-6 years ago. Didn't really do a lot before that with, chartering or anything like that. I was just fishing a lot, and always taking people fishing.
So are you doing commercial stuff or just taking friends?
No, just always going fishing. So if I was always going fishing and someone was around that either never went, I love taking people who never went fishing before fishing. I love doing that.
Yeah.
It was just always something I always loved doing. It's like, I'm going, so come, let's go.
Right.
Kind of thing. Because I'll go fishing by myself. I don't have a problem if no one else is around or everyone's busy. I always want to go fishing.
So do you have a day job or?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I don't know if I just grabbed myself as semi-retired, but I worked in finance. I'm sort of a operational specialist for ops and finance kind of guy, small business to medium-sized business specialty.
So you're still doing that too?
Some. It's sort of fewer better clients theory over the last 10 years. It's sort of been winding down.
Gotcha.
Never had like a job, put it that way. I'm not a 9-to-5 kind of guy. I'm never in my life.
Hey there, podcast family. If you're loving the show and want to rep BFC wherever you are, we've got just the thing for you. Our new exclusive merch line is packed with sleek, comfortable, and conversation-starting gear. Plus, we've brought back limited edition designs that we haven't printed in years. From cozy hoodies to t-shirts with the coolest fishing designs in the game, plus backpacks and jackets that'll have you stepping out in style, we've got something for everyone. And here's the best part. Every purchase helps support the podcast so we can keep bringing you the stories and conversations that you love. Plus, our gear is now shipping worldwide. So what are you waiting for? Head over to brooklynfishingclub.com and grab your favorite gear today.
I got quote unquote recruited right out of college, and then that sort of led right into, they were a very loosely governed entity. The firm that I worked for, the first firm I worked for, a bunch of guys from all over the world that were not very 9-to-5 guys either. So it sort of got me in that habit. And then when they all started retiring, I started working with people directly, and it was just, like freelance, if you want to call it that, but a little more than freelance, a little more involved in that.
And the whole time you're fishing?
Always, whenever I could.
When did you get into tuna fishing?
I mean, tuna fishing sort of has always been there too, because my parents went tuna fishing, my mom and my dad. They had friends with tuna boats back in like the 70s, when they were getting them and just selling them to the Japanese, right off the dock back then. And, they were going out of P-Town with their friends and just, that was always like the dream, like tuna fishing. So as soon as we were old enough and we could start trying to do it ourselves, we did. And I'd say we really got into the spinning game. So there's a couple like Cape Cod local guys that they're really like the pioneers of spinning fishing, if you really get down to it. So you have like Bobby Rice and Eric Moreo and the Cape Cod charter guys. Those guys all worked back there with like Ron Z, with Ron B of Ron Z.
Yep.
And original like Van Stall guys and developing stuff, to go out and catch fish. So they were pushing the envelope on each other every year, but we were going out with them. So we were learning from them all the time. Like, anything that we could pick up from them or any chance we could get to go fishing with them, we would go to learn. So that's what really got us into the spinning game. I'd say that was like, the 2000s, and then from then it was just, it's like a disease, you just want to go all the time. Can't not want to go.
And how far out are you going for those fish in P-Town?
Well, it's different. It's, the Cape is really different than like the tri-state area, because I mean, the giants, literally, I sit on the stairs at the top of my dune and watch the giants busting in the bay, like a quarter mile off the beach. It's like you see these guys down here freaking out about these giants, in the lanes down here. What is it, like 10 miles out? I mean, 10 miles out down there is like, that's way the fuck out. You don't go 10 miles out off the Cape that often. There's a couple spots way out east of Chatham, if the bite's out there, but you get fish, especially giants, are in a lot closer. And you get wreck fish now. There's a place called Pete Hill, which is like off the backside of Pete Town, hundreds of yards off the beach, literally. You're in, 50 feet of water, 60 feet of water, and the fish are busted. So you don't have to go very far. That's you might have to travel 25, 30 miles around the Cape, but you're still only a mile off the beach. It depends on where you launch out of. Down here, you might have to, you're running 40 miles. I got a friend that I fish out of Barnegat Inlet sometimes. Running 40 miles down there, it's like, that's close. That's always that big ocean thing. You don't have that big ocean thing like you have down here around the Cape.
So you've been watching them crash, destroy bait right off the beach?
Oh, yeah. I literally, Thanksgiving weekend, there were giants in the bay. It must have been, I would say hundreds for sure. It could have been 1,000 of them because you could sit there and watch 10 pods of 8 or 10 busting in any given direction at any time. Nobody. Well, a couple people we went out there. It was closed. Giants was closed. So up there, it's, also Giants it's not as much of a novel. I don't know if novelty is the right word. It sounds disrespectful. It's not meant to. But Giants, they're a commercial target. You go after them because you want to catch them and sell them. People don't want to fish for them just to fish for them as much. So a couple guys did go out, but went out literally with no rods just to see them and check them out because this Giants was closed. So why?
Because they were illegal.
Literally, because they're so cool. I just sat there and watched them. It was flat ass calm. My boat was in my driveway. I could have got out, but it's like, holy shit. It's just cool to watch them. And you learn when you're watching them. You see, hey, you don't even see the fish, but you see literally one bird. And you never thought that one bird really means something. Like, are there really fish there if one bird's slowing down and really flapping low? And then you see them start to bust. It's like, holy shit. So, you're watching and you're learning for the next time you're out chasing fish in the boat.
So what are you usually throwing for them? Live bait? Ronzi?
It depends. Yeah. Ronzi to me is the all-time top lure. You know what I mean? It's like the OG. It's like, you can't go wrong with Ronzi. Should always have Ronzi. Sometimes you're fishing for live bait. If you're not seeing a lot of fish and they're scattered or you don't know where they are and you're in the general area, you might float around with some max out. You know what I mean? And you could do that on spinning rods or whatever you want. You just let them swim around and you get bit, or you put a dead stick rods down. But if you see them and you're casting, you're going to be casting your strategic angler, Merv lures and sirens and, all the standard sort of great, amazing top water and swimming lures. You want to, if you're going to get a shot, you want to make sure what they see is what they want.
So you've sight casted to them?
Oh, yeah, you definitely do. You see them breaking and run and gun. The classic run and gun is, those are the guys that started it, those guys up there that we learned from. So
yeah,
that's what you hope for that. You dream for that. You see them busting and you get over there in time to get a couple casts off and get bit. That's the ultimate.
What's the biggest one you've landed?
On spinning, I caught with my brother and our friend of ours, this guy Paul, who was a lifelong friend of my brother's that we fished with sometimes. We were trading off the rod. It was 86 inches. And back then you could even keep a trophy. So yeah. That was like in 2000, maybe 2012-ish, 2011, something like that. Maybe a little later, maybe 20. I don't know when it was. We caught that on a regular jig, like a deep water jig. I think it was like a Shimano flat fall or something. But the weird thing was, it was probably 130 feet where we were, and on the bottom were all the macs were like pushed down to the bottom, scared of the fish, obviously. So you drop down the bottom, then reel up like hell. That's when you get bit. So drop down the bottom. First crank, I shagged a mackerel, and I could tell I shagged a mackerel because you can feel it, that sort of vibration. 2 turns up from there, so I know you got an outlier above the school. Even though it's on a jig, the fish just saw the mac and took it. So that's how I got bit. It was like right away. And we knew it was a giant right off the bat. We weren't targeting giants, but we knew they were in the mix, and it just took off. And it made a mistake because we got bit by giants a lot before, but you get fooled, or whatever. You weren't going to land it. Especially back then, the gear was good, but it wasn't. But this time, it's like go, 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 go. And my brother got on the throttle and took off. And I got some line back, and the fish, honestly, the fish made a mistake. and that's why we caught it. The fish did a 180 and went literally right back past us the other way, full speed. So we went to neutral, and I was reeling as fast as I could, and it was still slack as shit. So I got a whole spool back by the time it went tight again. So now the fish is tired, and I got a full spool. So it still took us 3 hours to get the thing to the boat because it weighed so much, and it was going in the tide. You know, that last mile of a big fish, or just the weight of the thing when it's doing circles. And when it's going away from you, there's really nothing you could do. You just got to wait, try to get a couple cranks on the circle back towards you. That lasted 2 hours with this fish, but we did get it. Yep. That's why it's 3 guys. We were trading off, and we were all ready to just cut the line by the time we got that fish. We were spent. It was a combination. I think by that time I was on the rod. My brother and Paul, I think both were ready to gaff it as soon as they saw it. No. We actually, the 3 of us, it was, you know what a slick craft is? All right. So it's got like a big notch in the back. So it's wide enough, the notch between the motor and the sort of corner of the gunnel, you could literally lift it in there. And between the 3 of us, we literally just lifted it, dragged it in.
So are you selling that fish, or what's the move?
No, we were thinking about it, but it was, you know, like November 11th, I think. It was pretty late in the year. And we're all looking at each other, and my brother and Paul are thinking freezer. I don't freeze bluefin when I catch it. I like it fresh. Like I keep it for a week. I give it away to friends. And when it's gone, you know? So I don't keep any more than I know I'm going to finish. That fish, it's a lot of meat. We kept it. We kept it. In retrospect, it was kind of like, oh, you live and you learn, you know? It's not as good either. I don't know. We guessed maybe it's pushing 400 pounds just by the size. And that time of year, they're very, very round fish. Yeah. So we're guessing 400. It was a lot of meat, a lot more meat than you think it is. So you make a lot of friends. But, you know, and giant meat, I don't think giant meat's as good as like a nice 45, 50 incher.
Right.
You know, it's a little, the texture, it's not as, I don't think it's as good at eating fresh. So, yeah, never again.
So do you ever get any big eyes or yellowfin when you're out there?
Not out there. No, they really don't come that. If you went east, like 100 miles, you're in the canyon, same canyons. So people go out there and get them. I don't go out there. We're not in my boat.
What's the furthest you go?
Me personally, I'll go to like the Regal Sword. That's east of Chatham, like 30 miles maybe. And, you know, it's different up there. It's different weather. It's different everything. So 10 miles east of Race Point, you know, out in the shipping lanes, you go out to the 100 fathom line, 600 foot line. It's like 12 miles out there. You're way the fuck out there. By Cape Cod standards and by like safety standards, because there's not a lot going on out there. So usually don't go that far out down there. Guys go south of Martha's Vineyard. They go further. It's more like the Long Island style fishery down there. I think they're going down south down there, and people will go down there from, you know, the outer Cape where I am. They'll just tow to somewhere on the south side of the Cape and launch from there. You know, get a lot of guys going around and all the way down there.
So speaking of weather, have you ever had any close calls out there?
Oh yeah, definitely. You're out there and there's thunderstorms, you know, summer thunderstorms come up.
Let's hear about like the top 2 closest calls with death you've had out there.
Death? I don't know. Death is, the closest call of death is, I mean, when we were kids, we literally watched someone die. This guy in a freaking sailfish.
What do you mean?
He was in a sunfish, one of those sunfish boats, and it was rough and windy, and he kept getting capsized, and we were trying to get to him. By the time we got there, the boat was flat in the water, and he was nowhere to be seen, and they found his body a week later. So, I mean, that kind of shit. But for us, I mean,
it was so long to get to him.
It was rough as shit. And he was pretty far away, you know.
What?
We just
he
seeing the mast
fell off the boat in the ground?
Yeah, he must have. Yeah, it's the only thing we could think of. The capsize fell off. You know, you just keep seeing the mast go down every 30 seconds.
How big is that boat?
Oh, it's one of those little sunfish things. Like
one of the, yeah. It's like 15 feet long.
Yeah. So he shouldn't have been out there in the first place, kind of thing. Like, what the hell? But still sucks for him. But
and so he had he was sailing that with no life jacket on.
That's what must have. There was nothing, you know.
So you got over to it and he was just gone.
It was just like, yep, yeah.
Oh my God. Have you seen anything else like that, or was that the worst one?
Yeah, not really seen, like, you know, I mean, I've seen boats in trouble and guys get rescued. And I was on a bigger boat once that got struck by lightning, like an outrigger, like a big sporty boat, like a tuna boat we used to call them when we were kids. Or it's like cabin cruiser, whatever you want to call it. one of the outworkers got struck by lightning and they're like cooked everything and the electronics and everything. So we were dead in the water for a while, but I don't know if I'd call that life threatening, you know? It's just spooky when you're a kid, you know?
So you never had to break out the life raft and the ditch bag?
No, we've been dead out there a couple times, like me and my brothers and friends when we were younger, but you just kind of like, what the hell are you going to do? This sucks. You never really feel like your life is in danger, I guess. I don't know.
In terms of all the stories you've heard, what's the craziest close call that you've ever heard of?
Close call? I mean, there were guys like just this past year, there was a boat on Stellwagen that was fighting a fish in pretty good seas, apparently, backing down on it, and they swamped. And it was like a 30-something foot pursuit or something. I can't remember what it was. And they went down in like seconds. And they all got picked up by the Coast Guard. But they couldn't even get in the raft, apparently. A lot of them. They didn't have time. It was that bad. So that kind of shit happens, you know? No one drowned. They all lived. They all got picked up. Yep. And they got picked up by other, you know, close. There were other boats close enough. And then the Coast Guard got out there and brought them in. But they got picked up. No one drowned. But could have gotten really bad really fast if one guy was inside. You know what I mean? The Cape Lobster guys, they have some stories. Like, you want to hear stories.
Yeah.
Some of those old stories from some of those guys are, you know, you sit around the Panama Harbor and like some of the older guys, I mean, I'm getting a bit older guy too, but you know, you listen to the stories from like when they were all out fishing in like the 70s and the 60s, and it's like, Jesus Christ.
What do you think about the current striped bass situation?
You know, it's a tough one. You know, that's a tough call. I think management to me is obvious because I remember pre-moratorium, striped bass were unicorns. You know, there was this one guy in the Panamint to this day. I know him well. His name's Tim, but his nickname is the Bass King. And that's because when we were kids in pre-moratorium, you'd go down to the Panamint in the morning and he was coming in from fishing overnight with a boat full of big, huge stripers that like it's the only time I ever saw him when I was a kid was in this guy's boat. So the moratorium back then, it was so, you know, obviously worse, and the moratorium worse. So management, something laying off of them. And then after the moratorium stopped, there were bass everywhere. It was unreal. For like 5-6 years, they were literally everywhere, all sizes. You could fly fish for them in the flats. Literally everywhere. And I'd say, the last 5-6 years, you see big schools of them. They're around, you know where they are, but there's not as many as there used to be. So, you know, this new management, the slot, you know, if they do a commercial slot that's, you know, a bigger slot, but it's still a slot. So they keep the really big breeders. You know, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think overfishing is obviously not uncommon, you know, and eventually it does some serious damage. So I can't really say either way. I'm not out counting them, but just from my personal experience of where there used to be a lot more, there are fish now, you know where they are. You can always find them, but it's not like it was. So they're definitely decreasing from what they were. You know, and I don't know if the last couple of years of management is making a difference. I don't see a lot of huge schools of schoolies around either, you know?
Right. So who do you think is more to blame, the recreational guys or the commercial guys?
It's everybody. I think the rec guys, I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I think rec guys, there's a lot more rec guys taking a lot more fish if you do the math. You know, the commercial guys, they're taking big breeders, but the total number of fish, because there's just not as many comp guys, is minuscule compared to the number of fish the rec guys take. So maybe the rec guys with a slot. I don't know. You know, release moratorium. You know, I almost never fish for striped bass anymore unless I want one to eat. You know where I'm going. I go and I know they're all like slot. I got like a 50 to 75% chance of only catching a slot fish. And if it's the first one I catch, I put it on ice and it's done. I'm done bass fishing. I'm not a bass expert, you know, on populations. I know commercial bass guys. I know charter guys that do a lot of bass charters, you know, and I have a lot of friends that love bass fishing, from fly fishing on the flats to going out deep, you know, and dropping down live max on them. We're trying to catch the big trophy ones in the bucket pods, you know. Actually, up there, they call them pogies. But I do fish down here a lot. I have friends down here, too. I try to fish with when I'm in New York. Like now I'm in New York.
So you feel like it is decreasing, like it's getting worse?
I do. I think but I don't know if it's flat now for a couple of years, or I don't know if these new management things have only been around for a couple of years, the slot. So I don't know. I don't know what it's doing, but it's definitely down from 10 years ago, like noticeably, and I don't know if it's just the bass are going to different places for different bait because you're hearing about all these bass in places there weren't a lot of bass, or it's just that people are all going to the same place and saying, oh my God, there's so many bass because there's only 20% of what there used to be. They're just all in the same place. So it looks like a lot of bass.
Yeah.
And sure, there's a lot of bass there where you are, but that's the only place there's a lot of bass. Go anywhere else right now and there's none. They're all there. So is it that more than population? I think there is some of it that's just that. People are saying, oh my God, I've never seen so many bass. That's because they're all in the same place.
So do you run charters for bass, or is it mainly like?
I do sometimes, but I depends on what's going on. If there's anything else to fish for, I'm going to sort of lead the witness if I can. Guys like catching bass. Like, again, if it's bass they want, I'm not going to sit there and catch 50 bass and release them and, on treble hooks and this. We'll go somewhere where I know there's slot bass. The likelihood is, high that 50 to 75% of the ones you catch are going to be slot. Everybody catches the slot bass to take home because they want it. I'm not going to push it on them, So, but it's, they are all still to this point, they're pretty reliable. Once you know where they are, they're pretty reliable.
So what have been some of the biggest challenges in terms of running a charter business?
Well, for me, it's different because I'm not doing it for a living. So people I know that do it for a living, it's the grind, and they'll call it the grind. It's the getting up at 3:00 in the morning to get your boat ready, especially, May, June. It's light on the Cape at 5 a.m. and they're all going out early. I do something not a lot of people do, and a lot of these guys make fun of me for it, but I honestly believe that for a lot of fishing, especially up there, sunset, the hour before sunset is just as good as the hour after sunrise because there's a lot less boats. There's almost nobody out. You got the place to yourself. It's just the lack of traffic. Maybe the fish are more active first thing, but there's 50 guys in the same spot chasing the fish versus 6, 7 o'clock in the evening, and it's nice and quiet, and you're like literally the only other boat is you and one other boat. So the fish that are there, they're coming up again. They're always around. To me, I find that. So I don't really get as affected by the grind because I'm doing charters for charity.
Yeah.
I'm not doing 7 days a week. I'm not trying to book my whole calendar like that. I keep days. When I book like like say there was some vets coming up from New Jersey and they're going to be on the Cape for 3 days. I'm like, all right, I'm going to keep all 3 days open for you because maybe we'll go out once or twice, but we don't know what's going to be the best weather day till the day before you get here. So I'm much more flexible than your typical charter guy because I'm not trying to do it for a living. I'm doing it
right
because I want to do it. Yeah.
So especially since you're out on the Cape, how do you feel about the shark situation out there?
Well, I wish there were more. The problem out there isn't the sharks, it's the fucking seals. Yeah. They exploded. Oh my God. There's again, like I'll compare it to when I was a kid. Seeing a seal was cool. It's like, holy shit, a seal. Now it's like everywhere you go, there's a fucking seal. You can't surf cast anymore because they follow you down the beach.
Yeah, I've
been there. Something.
They followed me when I was fishing in New Orleans.
God.
You almost have to trick them.
So
I did this thing where I pretended to cast and they all went down. They've been following me. And then I sprinted down the beach like 50 yards and casted, caught a small schoolie. By the time I caught it, they were all on me right there.
Oh yeah. And almost anyone that has ever fished on the Cape in the last 10 years has a seal story. Like, I fought a seal for a half an hour. It was the best fight of my life because it's like they don't let go. They grab it by the tail and you got it by the mouth with the hook and that's it. Tug of war. No, you don't want your lure back. It's like they don't give up either. They know. They learned. And there's just way too many of them. So like the sharks to me are cool. There's food for them. Come. I don't think there's a problem.
So even though all those shark signs are on the beach, you don't think it's a problem?
Well, it's also a liability. You think about it. It's you get
liability. What is anybody?
I'm sitting there scared. You can't, but at least they posted a sign.
Yeah, at least
that's well, I do it. Very reliable. They warned you. It's your own fault.
It's your own fault for going swimming.
Yeah, the sharks are being sharks. I know, but I know it changed my behavior. Maybe almost older too. So but when I was a kid, we used to go out, surfing and boogie boarding. And if you think about where we were, but they weren't sealed then either. So now, right on the edge of a sandbar where the sandbar drops off into a hole, that was where you'd hang out because that's where the waves would break along that edge. So if you rode a wave and then you sort of, flipped out of it, you were in the hole riding what the hell's it called? The current that goes back out, the rip tide, the rip current back out. So you don't have to paddle out. That's where the sharks hang out. They're waiting for the seals to get washed off the sandbar into the holes and then they grab them, But so now I don't do that anymore. I don't go out. That I am chicken shit. I don't even like going clamming unless it's like a 0 or a minus tide.
Why
if
is
it's
that?
like waist deep, I start getting nervous.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, there's so many of them up there.
Yeah, not as many, but they're finding out that there's more in spots you never would have thought. Like these juvenile, they're like 10 feet,
Yeah.
Like they found like one washed up in the Pamit. And they're like, oh, these are all over here, the scientists, once they come around. But you can walk down on a beach out there, like a Truro Town beach, and you'll see these guys with these folding tables and like those Viewmaster things, like the things that sit on a desk that have a view with like a curtain over it. So you can put your head under it and you tap them on the shoulder, like, what's going on? It's like they have drones is what they're doing. I'm like, you see anything? He's like, oh yeah, there's one there. There's one there. There's one over there. There's 2 out there. It's like at any time they're like watching 3 or 4 of these fucking sharks. And you're like, Jesus Christ. Like,
And it's all
that's the enjoyment today.
So what do you think the solution is for the seals? Because I know they used to cull them. I know they used to, sell their fur. I mean,
Orcas.
pelts or whatever.
Hopefully the orcas find them something because convince some Inuits to immigrate to Cape Cod. I mean, there's just too many seals. Yeah, the problem with seals, they taste like shit. You ever taste seal? Oh, we were in Canada with my son. We're walking around and there was like an Inuit festival. It's like you're walking around, you come across some Inuit festival. And there were different people like dried seal, this kind of seal jerky. It all tastes the same. It tastes like this fishy, Vaseline-y. It's not good. So that kind of makes it hard to sell them as like a hunting season,
Yeah.
If you ask me. It's like sea ducks. They just don't taste good to me. Like,
what's their point then? To make like oil? What did they
I don't know. They eat it because for them it's the blubber. They like it. They like that taste, I guess. I don't know.
Was it all red?
Grow up with it, you're used to it, you like it,
Is it red meat? What does it look like?
It's kind of red, but it's like really red. It was like dark red. It was very dark red.
It's like bluefish.
No, not like bluefish. More like, have you ever, what a sea duck breast looks like? A small duck, a dark, bloody.
Yeah.
It looks like that, only it tastes like fish.
Ah.
It's like, but not good fish.
Oily.
It just wasn't good. I can't really, I didn't eat enough of it to really maybe I didn't get a good sampling. But
So what do you think the future of it is? Do you think the seals are fully taped over and there's going to be no fish left?
Far, they pretty much have free reign to do whatever they want. And their population doesn't seem to be getting any smaller. New colonies pop up in different places every season. You go up there.
What does Monomoy Island look like these days? I used to go there as a kid.
That's covered in seals.
You can't even go there on a trip anymore, on a day trip. When I went there as a kid, there were no seals on that beach.
On the beach?
Yeah.
To fish?
Yeah.
I don't think you could fish. I don't think there's a chance in hell of fishing off the beach of Monomoy.
Wow.
It's bad enough out by me, and there's a fraction of the seals that there are down there.
Wow.
On the Outer Cape. But there's new colonies popping up all the time. Like last year, the first time there was a real colony on Long Point, the tip of Cape Cod. About 150, 200 seals. It was never there until last year. The Race Point colony is growing. There was always like some seals there. Now there's like a real colony. There's always been one on sort of right down the backside, sort of in, people might have heard of Peakville Bar. So sort of inshore from there is a beach called High Head Beach. There's always been once a big seal colony there, but that was like the only big local one. But now there's more popping up all over the place. They're everywhere. They're on the bay side now, everywhere. They were never in the bay. You never saw seals in the bay.
So do you think you're going to see orcas soon?
I would hope. People are spotting them random, but really? I saw them once. When we were kids, it was 1 year they were around. They were in the bay. And they were, like, you saw them. Like, they were always around. There was a bunch. But for the last 20 years, I haven't seen, but people see them when they get out east. Some guys saw them last year off Nantucket, I think, a couple times. So, hey, it's like wave a flag or something. Come on, guys, smorgasbord time, I don't know if there are enough if they eat enough seals to put a dent in the population or control it any better. But it's kind of like, it's up to Mother Nature at this point because no one else is doing anything about it.
Yeah, they're missing out on the bills of fat.
I should say no one else. They're not letting anyone do anything else. There's plenty of people that would be happy to do something about it.
Since you're out there so many days a year, what do you think about the Menhaden or the bunker? Do you think they've bounced back?
Yeah, there's definitely, again, like compared to like when I was a kid, then it was all about the sand eels. There were those bigger sand eels, the ones that are like 10, 12 inches long, like an inch thick. They were everywhere. And you don't really see them as much the last couple of years, starting to see them again. But out there, they call them pogies. These big pogie schools floating around in the bay, all the way from like Boston, all the way down, and then all the way around the inside edge of Cape Cod Bay, all the way to Provincetown. That's all, like the last 8-10 years has been more and more of those, which is great because then once they're around, any kind of, predatory fish that's around is all over those things, from, bass to giant tuna to the wreck tuna. Sadly, you don't really see wreck tuna on them so much just because they're way in the bay. If you see tuna on them, they're usually giants, which is interesting. The one thing people always freak out when they come to the Cape fishing for tuna the first time, the giants are like way inside. The wreck fish you got to travel for. They always see that like an oxymoron, It's the wreck fish are out chasing the smaller bait schools, the offshore bait, the half peaks and that kind of stuff. And the giants are inside eating the mackerel and the bluefish and the pogies.
So do you get sharked a lot, or is it?
No, in the north side of the Cape, like in the bay, it's starting a little bit, but you really don't. You get sharked differently. You're fishing with live bait, you get bit, a shark bites your bait. So you catch a lot of sharks. Blue sharks in the heat of the summer, and then when you get into the fall, you get porbeagles. There's places you can't even fish. There's so many porbeagles. But you don't get like, you're reeling in a fish like a tuna and you get tacks. You get down south of the Cape and way out east of the Cape where the water is the warmer water, you get that more, but still not like Florida or the Bahamas. I was fishing in the Bahamas once. It was like,
It's out of control.
it's like 10 feet deep, and as soon as you get bit, it's like you gotta like literally just lift the fish into the boat. Like, don't even bother reeling, because if you do, a shark's gonna come from under the boat and just bite it off before you get it up. I couldn't believe it. It was amazing. So how do you even fish?
Sorry, what were you saying?
Well, with the sharks, like in some places, like how do you even fish? You can't.
Yeah, even in Florida right now, you fish in Florida, they're fucking everywhere. Do you ever have any crazy bycatch when you're all the way out there during the summer or anything?
Oh, all the time. We even try for it. Like,
yeah, let's hear about some of the craziest bycatch.
I think there's, what John Dory fish are? They're very popular in Europe. So there's big, I don't even know how to describe them. You have to Google it, John Dory fish. I know they're down there. They live deep, like 300, 400, 500 feet. And I know they're down their way out east. I want to try for them. Nobody does. And they're sort of out deeper than the draggers would ever go. So they would know if they were there, but they don't go that far. Out by the 100 fathom line. And there's a lot of lumps out there, so it's probably hard to drag. I don't know, but I want to go try for some of that. But we get, like, you're fishing winter flounder is like a great thing that's come back in the bay. There's winter flounder everywhere. There used to be fluke. I miss fluke in Cape Cod Bay. That was like our favorite thing when we were kids. Fluking, big fluke. They're gone. The big sand eels are gone. They're gone. But now we have winter flounder. And when you're catching winter flounder, you catch all kinds of freaky shit. From, what a bergal is? Cunner. A cunner, you catch cunner, but they're like 3-4 pound cunner, like a foot long and big fat. It's like holy shit, you know what I mean? And you catch these weird ass sculpin fish, you know what they are? But big ones. Imagine a sculpin that's like a foot long. Those are cool. And when there used to be a time when you could only keep bass, I'm gonna say 42 inches, like right after the moratorium, or bigger. It was like a weird, remember then it was like always a certain number and bigger. I think it was 40 inches or 42 inches. So to get those, you'd use these things. It was basically a jig invented by that same guy I was talking about earlier, the bass king. This guy Tim invented. It was called the River Fox jig. It's basically a 4-ounce bucktail jig-like looking thing. And you'd put it on metal wire and you'd bounce it along the bottom right where the drop-off is outside of Provincetown, where it goes from 30 feet to 150 feet in horizontally about 100 feet. It's a cliff underwater from the tide sucking all the sand in and out. That's the clay cliff. When you drag along there, these bucktail jig things with this big hook, and you would hook shit like, oh, I got something. You bring it up, it's a lobster. You know what I mean? I got something. You bring it up, it's like a flounder stuck to a beer can. It was like the kind of shit you'd shag doing that. Those were fun days. Really fun days, I have to say. But we used to go out on purpose mystery fishing when we were kids. We used to
Mystery
go on a
fish.
rowboat.
Love it.
Yeah, 4 guys, 18, 19, 20 years old, in a rowboat with like an 8.5 horsepower motor, or a canoe if it was low tide, and a case of beer and some rods and some bait, trying to catch flute, but you'd catch all kinds of whatever you can imagine. Including the funniest thing was always if you ran into squid, because imagine like 4 drunk guys in a rowboat pulling up a squid and on purpose sort of, and like leaving it swaying in the air while sinking over everybody, Yeah. Yeah. Those, there's some weird shit up there.
What other weird shit?
I don't know. I mean, it's different. Like once you get north of the Cape in Cape Cod Bay, the fishery north, it's Gulf of Maine. The south side of the Cape is a lot of the same kind of stuff, South Long Island. That's part of that fishery. It's a different species, a lot of the same things. Like there's no, I shouldn't say none, but for like the first time in the last couple of years, I don't know if they're coming through the canal or whatever, you got black sea bass in Cape Cod Bay. Never had that. You got scup, porgies, porgies.
You ever had that?
Never had that. Nope.
So the fluke are gone, but the scup are there and the sea bass are there.
I'll be for a couple seasons and a couple weird weeks here and there. There's a couple spots where there's all these fluke. So it's like, I don't know where they're coming from. Through the canal. They're always over on that sort of side of the bay in these spots. Like someone comes across them by accident and then they're there, like, but then they're not anymore. Like last season, there were no fluke anywhere. Someone caught some by this sort of close to Provincetown. I actually caught one. And then while I was fishing for him, I caught the biggest bonito I ever caught in my life. It was like 12 pounds. I couldn't believe it. And last year, but weird shit. Last year, the weirdest thing, all of a sudden, the first week of August, did you guys have the baby bonito down here like they had Cape Cod Bay and all that? There?
Not so much.
So these 6-inch to 12-inch long bonito, millions of them. They'd show up sometime late September and they'd be around September, October. I mean, you couldn't get a mackerel for the life of you with a Sabine because these things were everywhere. Put it that way. All of a sudden last year, well, they were worthless. They didn't make good bait because they die in the live well. I mean, a couple guys discovered offshore, like there were these weird weed sort of areas, like the size of a football field that was covered in weed, and you'd see the fish sort of every now and then busting up in there, tuna. And if you sat there with the bait out, you catch them. In those fish stomach, the ones that were in those weed patches, they were baby bonito. Otherwise, they weren't good bait. So we would, all of a sudden last year, the first week of August, they all showed up as adults. It was like a bonito fest for 6 weeks. It was unbelievable. All day, every day, there were pods of bonito busting all over the bay between like Wellfleet out to Provincetown. It was unreal. Unbelievable. Yeah, I mean, sort of more and more people found them. Different spots, like up by Provincetown, you could be out there by yourself with just 1 or 2 boats with them all around you, swarming. Just because guys would go in and out of the payment and go right by them. They wouldn't turn right and go up in there and see them. And 2 years ago, the first week of October, the first time I ever in my life saw an albie north of Chatham, up the backside. Never saw one up the backside of the Cape, ever. All of a sudden, the end of September, all these guys in Provincetown on the beach were screaming, oh, there were albies busting everywhere today. Like you hear that night. Like, what are you talking about? You sure they were albies? They weren't even bonito, but not albies. Sure enough, that first week of October, I was out fishing, saw it splashing, you know what I mean? Went over, thought it was bonito. Because every now and then, even back then, a week or two, they'd start busting and you could get some, not like swarming everywhere for 6 weeks like last year. And it was albies, but not just some albies. It was millions of albies between the Pamit and Provincetown and then in Provincetown Harbor. I mean, these football field-sized schools of them, and there would be like 3 boats. And maybe you'd have 5 boats start, and 2 of the guys had never seen an albie before. So they're throwing like bluefish lures at it and shit, poppers, and you're trying to hold up, a little major craft jig paw or something like, this is what you got to cast. And then you just go through the colors until you find the color, and then it would be all by yourself all day. 4 or 5 hours of an albie every cast. Once you figured out they want blue today, that's it. Literally every cast. And I was hoping that would happen last year. It did not. But the bonito showed up. So that's the weirdest thing in the Bay. And the Outer Cape the last couple of years is these freakish sort of like, whoa, like never saw that before. Never had that species. And we didn't just get like the rare fluke one of them, pardon my pun. It was like they invaded and took over for weeks. And I just hope 4th of July week 2022, the 40-inch, 45-inch bluefin did that. And not a lot of people knew because it caught a lot of people by surprise. It was literally a week of unbelievable topwater bluefin fishing. I've never seen it anywhere, but tuna fishing like that anywhere on earth in my life ever. It was literally, they were everywhere. You're standing there fighting one and you're just watching them swim by. Like, oh my, like you're in shock. And I was hoping that would happen again. It did not. We're waiting. I think all those fish were going by us like on the way to Europe.
So what do you think all these fish, it sounds like the fluke are moving further north. It sounds like they keep moving further north. What do you think's causing that?
I think it's just honestly, the water's getting warmer. Everything's expanding. So it is. I mean, there's no other explanation. I never saw the Bay so warm. There were a couple of times in the last couple of years, the Bay water was like pushing, way up in the 70s, pushing 80. It's like, you're not catching this, all the lobsters left, it's got to be something to do with this plain old, global warming.
So
I got money. I got money back.
You said all the lobsters left. I mean, that must.
A lot of lobsters left the Bay, yeah. But then all of a sudden, this September, they all came back. It was like the most thickest lobster invasion in the Bay in 10 years. It was like your traps were like full. And so all of a sudden in September, from 0 lobsters like the last 2 years, it sucked in the Bay. All the commercial guys like moved their boats way out deep in the Bay or around the backside because it was sucked so bad. All of a sudden, there was lobsters everywhere in the Bay, but not till September. Very weird.
That was last year?
Yep. Weird shit like that. Well, that's sort of the theme of the last, I've been saying it to everybody too up there. Like the last couple of years, the theme is something totally, you can't forecast what's going to, don't even try to figure it out. Like something, the weirdest shit's going to happen, and it's been happening every year. And who the hell knows what's going to happen next year. The one thing I do hope, I honestly believe, I think a lot of the wreck tuna on the East Coast, especially like the Cape Cod fishery, sometime at the end of 2022, maybe they went over to Europe. They went across. They do that. And people I know in Europe that fish for bluefin said it's been the best they've ever seen the last 2 years. So it sort of correlates. I just hope they come back.
France, they've been fucking killing them.
It's out of control over there.
Yeah.
And it's not just there's more guys finally fishing for them over there. There's a lot of fish. It's sort of a catch-22. More fish, more guys see them, more guys want to get them, but there are a lot more fish over there. And yeah, the overall biomass is going up big time with bluefin in the Atlantic. But I think, they say 80% of the population lives on the eastern side of the Atlantic, the European side.
Yep.
20% lives on the western side, our side. If half our population was over there, we only have 10%, they have 90%. So what I'm hoping is November, not just seeing all these giants busted in the Bay everywhere. All of a sudden they were catching wreck fish everywhere off Rhode Island. I'm like, they're usually gone by then. So bizarre theory. Yeah, it's a stretch. It's a theory. No scientific basis. I think maybe a lot of those European fish are coming back. I'm just hoping they bring friends.
So you think it's like a cycle? They kind of stay over here, then they shoot over.
But the cycle, or they just think this is the first time they ever did it, or whatever. But the only thing, guys were going way out east. It's the fuck out there by Cape Cod Sanders looking for fish. I even went out there a couple times last summer. Well, it's like you see some, but like, where are they? They're not here. Guys are like, oh, they're up north. We saw them. I'm like, yeah, you saw one big school for a couple days. You didn't, it's not like, you're missing the point. Maybe that's the one school everyone's talking about. There was always schools going up there. You just didn't notice because there were so many more everywhere else. No one noticed yours. I don't know, but I'm hoping they come back and they bring friends. Because think about it, if 10% of their fish come with them, if they're 80%, 10%, so they go down to 70, we go up to 30% of the stock. That's our stock is going from every offshore landmark, every area, you know what I mean, that you're heading for is denoted by a rec name. So yeah, I get what totally affect the way you think. No, when I say rec, it's REC, recreational. So schoolies are like the smaller schoolie bluefin to me, like the 35, 45 inches. You almost never see those up on the Cape. Down further south, you see those. But the 45 to 55, 65, rec. Like that's rec fish, So I'd say schoolies and rec fish sort of interchangeable. It's just the way that people describe them up there. Because it's rec versus commercial giants.
Gotcha.
Because anyone who's targeting bigger fish, it's commercial. Most of the people targeting are, they're trying to catch it to sell it.
So what are you trying to do to help the vets? Because that's how we originally connected.
Yeah, it's not even to help them. It's to thank them. Thank you for your service, period, to end. I don't know how else to explain it when people ask me. It's sort of all my life I felt that way. Hey, America is the greatest country on earth, period. It's not, no one's saying it's perfect. Maybe people are saying it's perfect. I'm not trying to argue it's perfect, and I'm not going to argue with you about what you believe because it's America. You can believe whatever you want, period. So if people are willing to go fight for that freedom and put themselves out there, the least I can do is say thank you because I have the means. If you have the means, and I think everyone should do it, you have the means to give back, you should give back. And I love to go fishing, and I have the means to take people fishing. I think there's a lot of vets that like to go fishing. Least I can do is take them fishing and say thank you for your service, period.
Yeah.
It's literally that simple to me.
So how many trips you got coming up this year so far?
I've just been starting to reach out a lot for next year. I'd say there's 5 organizations that are definitely planning on sending guys. Let's say they each send guys 2 times, some of them 3 times. So, that's a dozen to 20 trips. And then over the next couple months, it's, like show season. So I'll go to the RISA show and some of the big fishing shows and introduce myself or remind people. A lot of the vets groups are at those shows, and I'll reach out on like Instagram. I'll ping people like you. I'll ping you. Hey, you people that I think are in touch with a lot of guys, a lot of fishing guys, and maybe a lot of them are vets, or they know vets, or they're part of a vets organization. I just want people to know that, hey, I want to thank you for your service, and if we can make it happen, great. So that's what I would say. 20 trips in a season. 2024 is sort of the target. And it's really because of availability and the weather. Like I said, when I know guys are coming, like there's and I still have some other charters for charity that I do, which is I donate a charter to a charity that's having like a silent auction or something. Some of them are also vets group, like that group Bad Company. They sponsor a couple of vets organizations out west. They have these big events with silent auctions, and I give them charters to auction. I do with vets. Other than reach out, I'm doing this.
Yeah.
To try to, the weirdest thing to me is it's almost hard to get vet groups to come think. I thought it'd be a lot easier to find people to say thank you to. You know what I mean? It's actually not as easy as I thought.
That's really fun. Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I mean, it could just be because I'm way out on the Cape and not a lot of people get out there. But I always say to people, listen, you're in Plymouth, Mass, or even Boston or Providence, Rhode Island, or somewhere. It's 2 hours. I'm not telling you to get there at 4 o'clock in the morning. We can go out at noon. It doesn't get dark till 8 p.m., and some people have taken me up on that, and those worked out great, but, Strategic Angler, Merv.
Sure.
So Merv is like, dude, great idea. I text with Merv. Merv's awesome. I love forget about how great his lures are. Merv's awesome. And he was like, listen, I want to sponsor a trip. I'm like, well, I don't really take money for it. I do it. That's my way of giving back. He's like, no, well, I'll make a gift bag. I'll make them lures. I'll send guys up. And he put it out. It's great. It's perfect. And he started posting about it. He was like, I'll do it like an auction. So if I get too many guys, I'm not being subjective about picking who gets to go. And I said, well, if it's 8-10 guys, we'll do 2 trips. You know what I mean? We didn't get guys. Like nobody responded to him. Yeah, it's like, I mean, is it because I'm on that? And then he was like, maybe it's because you're way out on the Cape. I'm like, there's pros out here that are booked solid.
No, there's no rhyme or reason sometimes. I mean, I've been running this fishing club for going on 11 years, and I put together events where I'm like, oh man, this event is fucking sick. You would be fucking brain dead not to attend it. And then I'll do the event and there's like 4 people there. And I'm just like, I don't know what to tell you guys. Like, I'm putting together events. I'm doing everything you guys want me to do.
Bands when I was younger.
Yeah.
I know about that. Sometimes, wow, hundreds of people showed up. You don't know why. And other times, 4 people had
absolutely no one.
The last time, 100 people showed up. Yeah, totally.
I don't know how to call it. I don't know.
Yeah, but that, I don't know. Hopefully we can figure something out. We'll start again in a couple weeks pinging that, and we'll get a group. Because I'll tell you, any group that sent people, like American Warrior Outdoor, they're based in New Jersey. They got guys. They wrangled some guys, a couple of them based in New Jersey. Based in Nass, that came out for a day trip. We had a blast. He's totally psyched to send more groups. I'm like, dude, tell me how many groups. I'll give him 10 days if he wants, because it went so. I thought it went great. He thought it went great. He said the guys were raving how much fun. I was amazed. They had so much fun. We caught a lot of fish. So I don't know. Trying to reach out to new groups, because the weird thing to me is I've also learned there's a lot of vet groups.
A lot.
Not that there shouldn't be, but there's a lot. There's the rods and rifles and rods. There's American Warriors Outdoors. There's you know what I mean. But there's a lot of groups. So my quote unquote strategy this year for finding opportunities to give back and say thank you is reaching out to those organizations. But if there's individuals, your vets served, I want to thank you. So call me, ping me.
I'm going to put you in touch with my buddy Jay. He did 4 tours in Afghanistan. Guy is still walking around like nothing happened. I swear to God, he is the most normal vet that I know. And he almost became a Navy SEAL. He was 3 days out, and he got a pulmonary embolism, and he's puking up blood while he's running with the raft on the beach. They made him ring out, but they said, "Yeah,
I would think you probably were at that point.
His vets die pretty much."
I was. It's like
that's a check on his whole blood.
That'll probably kill you if you don't go.
Yeah. So they're like, we'll give you the next most dangerous job. You have to go rescue injured Navy SEALs. So he's either running out of the Black Hawk to go pick them up, throw them over his shoulder and run back, or he's holding down the 50 cal and just laying cover fire.
See, and to me, it's like, listen, you're going to make that kind of effort. I should make the effort.
Yeah.
You're doing that for people like me here in America, to live in America and for America to be America. Let me say thank you for that. Yeah. I can make the effort. I should make the effort because I can.
It's patriotic.
I'm not saying everybody can.
It's a patriotic move.
Right.
I feel like a lot more people could.
I can.
I feel like a lot more people could make that move actually and help them out.
Yeah. And I'm going to be asking people too. If I start getting enough people looking, people that I can say thank you to and I don't have the time, say to everyone, I'm going to start calling people I know out there. Hey.
Yeah.
Donate a day. Take some guys out. Say thank you. A lot of these guys, I don't think they're going to hesitate either. A lot of them do it already.
Oh, they'll do.
There's actually groups that'll get, and there are guys out there, pros that are donating charters to these groups. I'm trying to do it. It's just what I'm doing. I'm going fishing anyway. I'm not trying to do it for a living. I'm licensed. I'm insured, because I want to do these things. And that just makes it possible because a lot of these groups, unless you're licensed and insured, you can't take people out, even if it's a charter for charity. Sadly, she came on, it's a charter boat out of Provincetown. I was covering a charter and he was thinking, okay, it's a mother and 3 kids. So it was like 2 were her kids. One was the kid's friend. They really never fished before. And it wasn't a problem with the kids or anything, but she was, what are you doing? Why are you getting so close to the seals? I'm like, the kids want to see the seals. That's dangerous. I'm going to call right now and report. She's like getting on her phone. I'm like, what's wrong with you? Relax. Yeah, like I'm endangering the welfare of children. I can't believe this, isn't that? By the time the trip was over, she chilled, but it was crazy. I was like, what is wrong? Who could I even say anything to?
Yeah.
Literally like texting, the guy who runs this charter business. I'm texting him and I'm like, Rich, man, what the fuck is wrong with this woman? What did you have you ever had these people as customers? Where he's like, no. I'm like, oh my God. So and I can't cut it short because that's even more. So yeah, that was pretty bad. Another charter, we got boarded by the Coast Guard and I was covering again. So I wasn't on my boat and the boat was big enough. You had to have 2 fire extinguishers and we only had 1. So that is a sorry, this trip is over. We're going to have to escort you in a fence. So, yeah. So the charter was only about an hour old, and it was an all-day charter. And I later found out it was an all-day charter, and we had to go in. And then the guy who on the boat was like, I'll be there in 2 hours. I got to get all that. I have a fire share. So, so we had to like wait around for a little while. But the thing in the end, what I found out like while we were on the dock too, and I was like, oh my God, the guys that were on the boat, it was 2 guys. Normally, it was 3 guys that did a fishing trip every year. The third guy had just died. And the 2 guys agreed to go anyway out of respect for the third guy. I didn't know this. Nobody knew this till we got into the dock after getting escorted in. And I was like, oh my fucking God. I wish the Coast Guard heard that before they escorted us in. They probably would have let us alone,
It was probably that dead guy's last prank on his friends.
Yeah, really, maybe. I never really thought of that.
Definitely.
Good, bitch. Over there.
I got you, motherfuckers, one more time.
Okay, good. But yeah, but I see these guys, and if you ask them, like, how's it going? It's like, it's the grind, man. It's that time of year. And they're like out cold at 7:30. Like, they're up at 3.
Yeah, because I was going to say they've been up at 3 a.m.
Right. And they're doing it 6-7 days a week. And some of these guys, they love fishing because they have one day off a week as a Sunday, and they're out there fishing with their kids. You know what I mean? Like you're out there with their kids. So they love fishing, which to me, it's got to be even harder for them,
Do you feel like fishing can get similar to gambling?
Addictive like that?
Yeah.
Like the rush? Yeah, there's definitely a rush. There's absolutely.
Where we're like chasing it, Yeah,
there's definitely a rush. There's absolutely in some things more than others, like seeing topwater tuna busting and hitting that throttle. I used to joke about it. Like if you're on my boat, like I do fish alone a lot, or I fish with one other friend. I like that, like 2 guys on a boat. You can't really go after big tuna without 2 guys minimum, because you got to have one guy on the wheel and one guy on the rod. And then when the fish is end game, you got to have one guy on the rod. One guy's got to run, you could do it alone. Guys do it alone out there, believe me. But to me, 2 guys just makes it more likely. So, but if I see fish busting, I'm hitting that gas because it's like an adrenaline shot. And if you're not holding on, I always say to people, you're on the boat, you got to be 3 things at all times are touching the boat. So it could be 2 feet and 1 hand goes holding on, or 2 hands and 1 foot, but period. You got to be holding on, because if we're out tuna fishing, we're looking around and I see fish, I'm going to gun it because it is like an adrenaline shot. I love that.
It's like I was always taught, 1 hand for the fish, 1 hand for the boat. You always have to have one hand for the boat.
You better be holding on because I'm going to hit the gas.
Yeah.
And you're going to go flying. And all I'm going to be thinking about is getting close enough to splay mid to neutral and run and grab my rod and get a cast off.
Have you ever had anybody go overboard?
No, but I literally have put it in neutral, run around the console to grab a rod and a rod holder, grabbed the rod, tripped over something like a backpack or something that fell when I gunned it to go chase the fish, and falling forward. And what happens when you fall forward? Your arms go out in front of you, you know what I mean? And your hands open up getting ready for the fall. So that rod that was in that hand went right over the side. I have done that. Yep, I sure did.
So in terms of watching these bluefin from the shore, not to circle too far back, do you think anybody could have a shot at getting one from the shore?
I think it's coming. It was funny because this guy in Japan posted this place where he's catching these big yellowfin from shore. And I pretty much figured out where it is. And there's a couple other places where they catch these big yellowfin from shore. Bluefin, supposedly there's a rumor in the Cape of this guy that he's a kayak fisherman, and he was back on the beach and the fish were close enough. He got one out for his point once, or at least hooked up. The licensing goes to the boat, so it was illegal. I mean, there's all that's a whole different argument. But these giants, the way the sandbars work in the Cape, I don't really see them catching a lot of tuna from shore. Because even if they're a couple 100 yards off the beach, they're off what we call the drop-off. So there's sandbars that are waist deep at low tide, and it goes from that to 30, 35 feet, like instantly, all around the Cape. Like that first drop-off. On Rafe Point, they're coming right up to that edge, either on these pogey pods or sand eel schools, or usually pogey pods. I'm not sure. In Thanksgiving weekend, I'm actually not sure what they were eating, because they weren't really going swiping through like those big, fast, rush throughs like they do when they're on pogies. And I'm thinking maybe they were on mackerel because they seem to come up in tight little areas going every direction, like they were on a school or something, but they weren't overly aggressive. Actually, there's some on my Instagram. I posted some videos from those days. You can see them. And you can definitely tell it's tuna busting, but they're not like out of control, like going nuts, like a West Coast foamer,
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what they were feeding on because it was late November. Could be anything out there from butterfish to sand eels to mackerel, baby bonito, like who the hell knows, But they're a little too far out to catch from shore. Could you target those fish in a freaking kayak in a second? Rowboat in a second. Canoe in a second. But would you want to? I mean, I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't, personally, I'm not casting at giants if I know the giants anyway, unless if the quota's open and I could sell it. Because I just rather leave them alone. I think they're so cool just watching them, I don't need to catch those. If I can't keep it and eat it, I'm not as interested. That's just me. There's plenty of guys that want to hook them just to fight them. That's fine. That's do your thing. But
Yeah. Right.
for me, I literally, I don't do a lot of catch and release fishing per se. I'm really fishing to catch shit I like to eat. That's sort of always been my mantra of fishing.
Right.
So charter fishing, doing that, it's sort of a different mantra then, because then you're fishing the sport of fishing. The guys want to take fish home too. So, hopefully catch the right fish, the right sizes that they can do that. But it's also a lot more of that.
So it's all about switching up the mantra pretty much for whatever.
Yeah, it is to a degree. Like it was for me, because that's me. I like to fish. I love fishing, but I love to fish for things that I want to bring home and eat. I love that. That's part of the whole experience to me. It always has been, even if I'm doing it every day. I might not keep anything sometimes if I don't want to, if I know I'm going home or going out or doing something, I'm not going to, but then I won't go tuna fishing, believe me, because if I'm going direct tuna fishing, I'm going to want to take one home and eat it, So yeah, but that's to me, like that's the bass, like straight bass for me. It's not my favorite, I'm not going to lie. It's not my favorite fish. A lot of guys love it. My mother loves it. It's not my favorite. So you won't see me bass fishing a lot, to be honest, because I don't want them, So unless I'm with someone that wants one, I'm usually not going bass fishing. I'll drive right by him, look for something else that I want.
All right, man. Thank you, Ethan.
Anytime, man. Let me know.
I'll send you this one. It's fully wrapped. Have a good night, Brett.
Yeah, let me know. It's going to be fun.
It's going to be great. All right. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Yeah.
Don't you walk on me. walk on me, 'cause I worship the ground.